Hello, travel biz owner. Welcome to my corner of the travel industry, the Strategic Travel Entrepreneur Podcast. If you're ready to have fun, be inspired, get clarity, and take action in your travel business, then you're in the right place. Let's jump in. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to this podcast. This episode was originally inspired because I don't know what's gone into me this past month, but I have been really into systems and putting them into a project management tool. And I was like, hey, I should probably share what I've been doing for people who are also stuck to kind of like just give them a glimpse into my brain. And then I was like, hold up a second. My really good business friend, Alicia Lozano, who some of you may know from Prep for Wave Week, and I believe we may have even done a podcast episode previously on here, but she is like one of these systems gurus and processes queens. I was almost going to say princess, but I'm like, you're bigger than the princess.
Oh my goodness.
So I thought it was perfect because she has a solution just for you. But before we like get too much into that solution, hi Alicia again.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I am so
excited to talk about systems. Let's geek out.
Yeah. So, and I will just say, I have been for years wanting to implement using a project management tool. And I don't honestly know what the block was for me. Mm-hmm. Like sometimes I thought it was like, maybe I'm just like a paper and pen person, but there was something, especially last night, and we're recording this earlier in the week, something in me last night was like, put more stuff in your tool. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can like put everything in this tool now. So where are you kind of finding, like when you work with people on their systems, where are you finding that they're at when they get to a place that they need you? And what are you finding is like the common block from people utilizing a system that can like offload so much from your brain?
Yeah, I would say that the biggest block is overwhelm.
Yeah.
So when a business owner gets going, right? When we start our businesses, we're creating all the time, right? Whether that's like documents that we're using, sales pages, we're testing out tools, we're signing up for things, we're downloading courses, we're doing all these things, right? And as we continue to grow, all of those things that I just mentioned are starting to get looking like this. If you're listening to this, like you're going to see my fingers kind of intertwining, and like some things are on a drive. Sometimes you have two drives. Sometimes you started a project management system that you're like, I don't even remember, like what's on that project management system. And so when they get to me, they have likely had a business that has been through it, has been through it, right? And rightfully so. One of the first things that you should focus on when you start a business is sales, right? And creating and getting people through the door. And so, you have to kind of focus on that first and deliver a few times before you really start to say, whoa, wait a minute. Now I have all these things kind of all over the place. You got Canva. Let's not even talk about Canva and organizing that shit, right? I mean,
oh my goodness, yeah.
So the biggest block is that they come to me and they're like, I don't know where to start. Everything's a mess, like everything, and they're like, I'm just doing what I need to do. Like onboarding emails are being sent manually, like, the delivery, even if they hire support, they're having to tell them in real time or answer a bunch of questions, right? That over and over, the same questions over and over from somebody from support. Sometimes people just stop themselves from hiring because they're like, it's going to be way more work to bring somebody into like my business and try to explain how I want something done than, to just do it myself, right? It's just faster that way. So I would say that's the biggest block. And that's kind of where people are at when they start to realize like, oh, I probably need to bring in someone that knows that their brain works this way to help me get started in
Right.
systems.
Right. Because when we're thinking about systems, so I like where did I really start out at? So my client work, I think, is where I started out at, and making
Delivery.
sure that I stayed ahead of deadlines. And by like, I have certain dates that I've already inputted into my tool to say, okay, you're going to be a recurring task. So you need to remind me every month on this date that I told you, you need to tell me that I need to do this. Because for me, it was definitely that overwhelm because as you know, and as many, if you're listening, you probably can tell Rita like has billions of ideas in her brain. But then there's also like billions of tasks that go with all of the different ideas. And so it was kind of, I would say the crossroads was things are busy, but things are not busy at the same time, where I was like, okay, in order to, it's like the arrow, the analogy of the arrow, that you have to like pull back a little bit in order for you to get that momentum back again. And I always also think about if you're not ready, and this is not like your mindset, but kind of like more universal wide, that if you're like the universe or your higher power, whatever you believe in, will only give you the things that you're ready for. Sometimes that can be true, sometimes that cannot be the case. You've gotten like inundated, and I know many travel business owners, especially this year, have gotten like way so much more business because everybody wants to go and travel this year. But it's really that thought of, you do have to pull back a little bit to move forward. And in order to do so, you kind of have to reevaluate things and take it a little bit slow, because if you are like heavy in the burden, like it's just going to overwhelm you even more.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's an interesting perspective because there is a business owner out there that will kind of like there's like two, I see them in like two different spaces. You mentioned like a business owner that like you're doing the things and you're trying to get business, right? Like you're trying to get business. And so doing all of that, you're probably creating, you're not really sure where to start with systems, and everything is all, kind of here and there, and you're spending a lot of time in lead generation or your marketing area because you don't necessarily have the client work yet, but you're kind of in that space.
Right.
Then there's a business owner that has hit capacity, right?
Right.
And I think the struggle with systems is that business owner. There's a big problem for that business owner, because try telling a business owner to slow down. Try, and not like, hey, slow down, you're working too hard. No. Slow down, like don't take clients.
Right.
Try telling a business owner not to take clients.
I'm thinking about like some travel advisors. If I told them that, they think I'd have like 10 heads or something.
Yes, they're going to keep going, right? This business owner over here that's at capacity, but is going to continue to keep taking people on. I think so. There needs to be a solution for the business owner who refuses to slow down. Now, I will tell you that the best way through is that arrow analogy, is to slow down, to halt business a little bit, and to really focus on operations as a whole and really get your handle on it. However, because I know that 90% of business owners are going to refuse that, then okay, fine. Business owner, this is for you then. If you don't want to slow down, then you need to be okay with two things. The first, being messy. You have to be okay with just being messy. And then two, you have to build one process at a time. You cannot overload your team or yourself with trying to build all the systems in the world and trying to download this tool and then download that tool and trying to implement all of that at the same time that you're running your business, and you don't have the support and the infrastructure to really get a lot done at one time. So if you're busy, then you have to be okay with being messy for longer than you probably would like.
Right.
And two, building one process at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And the one process at a time, how you determine where to start is, Rita and I were talking about this earlier, there's four core systems in every business, whether
Mm-hmm.
it's a service-based business, a product business, it doesn't matter, membership, travel, right? It doesn't matter. There's four core systems that every single business needs to focus on first
Mm-hmm.
as a priority, which is your lead generation systems, which there are 10,000 ways we can lead generate. There's your
Right.
marketing, there is your podcast. Maybe you have a podcast, maybe you have blogs, maybe you have whatever it is. Lead generation systems.
Yep.
You have your sales systems, and your sales systems are when somebody says, I am interested, to the time that you close that sale. Any of the actions anything that you're doing repetitively could be turned into a system for your sales system. Then third is your delivery system. So you said this earlier, you started in your delivery piece.
Yeah.
So delivery is all about how you onboard a client, how you fulfill the work. And you started in fulfillment, if we break that down, because you said, I actually just wanted to keep up with the client work in fulfillment. And then there's the offboarding that falls all under that kind of like delivery bucket. Then the fourth is post delivery, or what I call retention. So retention systems. So any of the actions that you're taking to upsell, downsell, cross sell, or keep somebody inside your network, like, hey, when they offboard, are you adding them to an email list and tagging them as a client, or whatever the case may be? So that way you can then follow up and send a nurture sequence every single 3 months, whatever that action looks like. That can be turned into a system. Whatever repetitive actions you're taking, that can be turned into a system. So when you're looking at those four areas, then you have to ask yourself, like, step 2. So now you know, okay, let's focus on those four. Other systems are like HR systems, executive management systems, that kind of stuff. But once you see those four, you're going to have to say, well, what's my goal right now? Is my goal, like, am I trying to get more clients? Or is my goal like business organization? Is my goal whatever it might be? Is my goal, your goal was client management, client delivery.
I wanted to stay on top of deadlines.
You wanted to, okay, perfect. You wanted to stay on top of deadlines. So your focus, you went right to the core of that focus, which was delivery. If you're trying to get more clients, then what you would systemize first is your lead generation. Whatever you're trying to do in lead generation, you're going to systematize that first, because you're trying to bring more people on, right? It could also be, maybe you have enough leads coming in, but you're trying to close those leads in a better way. So that's your sales system, right? So if you're getting leads, but you can't close for whatever reason, if they're going to your checkout page and they're not purchasing, then you gotta fix something in your sales system, and that should be your focus, right? So anyway, so it all kind of depends on what your goals are. And we can get into a larger conversation about tying it to your business strategy as well. But that would be the solution. I don't remember what the original question was, but I went on a tangent.
Well, and I'm like, that is the life cycle of a client, really. And it doesn't matter like what industry it is, like we're all dealing with the same thing. We have to get the clients, we have to make sure that they're going to be buying, and then we have to keep them so they can keep coming through the pipeline, but then they can also bring more people through the pipeline.
Yep.
So yeah, I started there in client stuff, and then I do a lot of different things that are both what I call like lead generation, but also the nurturing process. So I have like the podcast, and then I have my private podcast series, and then I'll have prep for Wave Week that's coming up in a couple of months. And really the purpose of me like being, I think, getting a little obsessed with like putting things in the tool was because I didn't want to miss deadlines. And I think like that's where I was feeling overwhelmed because I can get the stuff done, but it's always like, okay, when do I have to get the stuff done so that it gets done by the time that I want to get it done? Because I've told a couple people already, like this fall, winter, like I want it to be smooth sailing. So
Yep.
I'm okay with being like in a little bit of a hustle mode right now because I want to enjoy Florida fall. I
Yeah.
want to be able to enjoy like Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas without always having to think like there's this deadline looming and that deadline looming.
Yep.
So, what other things, like I know for me, it was like very deadline focused, but what are some other reasons that people are like, I need to like get things together now?
Um, People usually start focusing on systems when they want to hire. So,
Yeah.
when you want to bring on a support person, some things, one of the very first questions you're probably asking yourself is like, what do I even delegate? Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you don't document, right, what you're doing and what you want to offboard, then you're not really ever going to be sure what you need to delegate or who you need to hire.
Right.
So, what I would say, like, somebody in that position that they put it into a tool or write it down, whatever, more creatives are more of like pen and paper, right? Like, let's mark it up, let's get some highlighters, mark it, like write down what you're doing. I always, for me, I always like work with like my energy. So like I
Mm-hmm.
always kept track of like, okay, I'm writing a post or I'm writing this email and like it feels hard. That means that eventually I want to delegate that, right? So like I put it in my list of things to delegate. It doesn't
Yeah.
mean that I'm doing it right now, but as I work through my day, I just kept listing out things and using my tools, right, that I have, my project management tool, to really type it out. And then I actually labeled like marketing assistant, ops assistant. I think I put like executive assistant because I really did project manager, I think is another one. Anyway, and I would write something down and I would like select the drop down of like what role that would belong to and also what department. So at the end of the week, really, this could really just take you a week, unless you have tasks that you're doing monthly, then maybe you add those in and you do it for longer.
Mm-hmm.
But for that, then you can really see how many of tasks that I put on this list that are for marketing, how many tasks are really admin related, and then you can start to see who should I bring into my business next,
Right.
like that is, and then that's, you look at that list and say, do I have processes for each one of these things?
Oh
Like,
my goodness.
yeah, like do I have how to post a blog? Do I have like how to write my newsletters? Do I have like whatever it might be? That list is now your process list.
Right.
But I would say that going back to the 4 areas, you want to look at that list and run it through what is going to save you because of your DIYing, right? One process at a time. So look at that list and make sure that that list is also in line with the goal that you're trying to meet, because you don't want to be working on systematizing an admin thing that takes you 2 seconds, right?
Right.
When you need to systematize client delivery, that and some of the tasks that you do for clients, maybe you're onboarding, right? Because that's going to save you more time and give you more ROI. So run that list when you start creating processes through the 4 pillars and make sure that they meet that way. If you're doing it one process at a time, obviously, if you have a specialist or an ops person come in, they can knock it out real quick and do
Mm-hmm.
that kind of stuff. But,
I think that's genius the way that you said it, to like figure out what are the processes that you don't want to do anymore and what type of person would be doing that. Is that
mhm,
just a straight up admin? Is that a marketing assistant? Is that, like a special travel assistant, travel industry virtual assistant? Because I
mhm,
know a lot of people are like, oh, it's just a standard VA. But I'm like, in the travel industry, there's lots of legalities and rules and things that you have to follow. And I know there's
yeah,
many other industries are very similar to that. So this is not like you can't just hire a bottom of the barrel person for this. Like you have to
yeah,
have somebody with insights.
Industry knowledge, yeah.
I remember, I think it was springtime that I was thinking, I'm like, okay, if I was going to hire people, the first thing that I actually did, I hadn't even written anything yet, but I'm like, if I can just record myself doing this on, I use ScreenPal for my screen recordings, but you can use like Loom or Canva, I think does it now too. I was like, okay, we're gonna do this because a lot of my things are just like really simple, like setting up Zoom calls for the monthly membership. And okay, like I can do it, but it also has to go in the Facebook group and it also has to go in the ad event calendar.
Yep.
And it's just tedious things that I don't necessarily need to be doing, but let's record myself so I don't technically also have to train somebody. I've already recorded the training video for them.
Yep. And guess what you can do with the training video?
Make a transcript.
You can make a transcript. That too. That too. That too. That's awesome. But you hire that person, you could then hand them an SOP on how to create SOPs, and they could create the SOP. So that the next person that comes on, they have that SOP ready to go.
Oh, I like what you did
inside
there.
The studio.
I like what you did there. Oh my gosh, that's so brilliant.
Yes.
And that, like, for people who are feeling overwhelmed, if you hire somebody who's been an experienced assistant for someone, it's not going to be too hard to pick up what an SOP is and how to put it together based on a video that you've already created with the process.
And the SOP on how to create SOPs is done for you. That literally is like, write the title, make sure the SOP starts with action verbs. Like it has like down to the, like you can literally hire an admin, hand them the SOP on how to create SOPs. They can use your video and walk through step by step and create a really good SOP.
Oh, wow. So is this SOP of SOPs that I'm assuming is in the Workflow Studio?
It's in the Workflow Studio membership. Yes. Yay.
Alrighty. So tell us a little bit more about the membership. This is a brand new membership. It's a flippin' genius idea, especially for those people who are overwhelmed. You want to kind of DIY, but you don't want to DIY by yourself how to put all your processes and systems together in a tool.
I love it. I love the way you explained that, because the Workflow Studio is really filling the gap between the DIY space, like truly like downloading a course and then just DIYing. It's so there's that, and then there's next level is like getting a done with you, right?
Right.
So it's really an in-between product of like DIY and done with you. So it's so crazy that you said that. I love it. I'm actually going to use it and talk to that. It's like I created a whole new damn segment for sure. Yeah. So the Workflow Studio is made for solo business owners who are DIYing their systems, and they're asking themselves, where do I start and what do I need to create? And so the Workflow Studio will answer those questions, and it will provide resources for you in the form of templates, in the form of mini trainings, in the form of swipes, to help make systems implementation easier. So our promise of every single product, and so it's a product-based membership, and our promise of every single product is to simplify the systems implementation piece. So there are members in there that have said, I am not good at systems implementation. I'm not good at implementation. So they get to a point, they understand that they need to, let's say, create a better onboarding process. But then they get to that point and they're like, well, what is a good onboarding process? And like, what should I be putting in there? And like, what does that really mean? And they kind of get that stuck in that area. So when somebody is in the membership and they get stuck there, what is really awesome, and this is probably something that I will have to cut off eventually when this membership gets to like thousands, but for right now, they have a TWS support ticketing system, which you can get to that point and you can say, hey, I am trying to put together my onboarding system. Like, what should be in there? And then I would either say, there's a checklist for you that's in the resource, or I will send you a video or answer your question in in a personalized way that addresses what you're asking.
Okay.
Yeah, so just the other last week, one of the members had some issues within ClickUp. She was trying to automate some tasks and get them to reoccur in a certain way. There was like a unique way that she was trying to do it, and she was stuck. And because she knows that she has an operations consultant in her back pocket, she submitted a ticket. Less than 24 hours, I responded to her because I know, right? It takes me like 2 seconds. I know what she's asking. I recorded a Loom video and I sent it her way, addressing her specific problem, and she was able to get through that automation. So that's the level of support. So I do not want people, this is not a course. And it's very important that I say that, because I think a lot of people download courses, they don't finish, and there's some shame that we carry around that.
Right.
This is not this membership is long-term. Right now it's $330 for the entire year. And it's intended to be that long because I know that systems is ongoing.
Right.
And sometimes your focus is going to be in operations, and sometimes it's going to be in other areas of your business.
Right.
And so I want you to, when the business problem comes up, when you want to get more organized, when you want to get streamline any process in your business, that you have TWS in your back pocket, the Workflow Studio, aka TWS. You have it in your back pocket, and you could see what resources are there for you. We talked about having resources to help you do lead generation. We talked about resources that I have in there that will help you track your sales better. And then not only do you have resources, not only do you have the TWS ticketing system, I have monthly Q&As, so you can submit your Q&As whenever you want. And I also have monthly implementation parties that are included, which means that I will pick one process depending on what the group wants. I poll the group, and I will pick one process and I will map it out with you. For $330 a year, this is a steal. It's going to break the internet. I know it.
Well, I was going to say, just use talking about this ticketing, where like if somebody's working on something and they have a question, that alone is like worth the price of admission, because I think like that is it is a big component that's missing from a lot of business that's done nowadays, is that almost the quasi one-on-one. It's all like very like, here, take this, use this, learn this, but I'm gonna step away back here. And people are really missing and needing that human element, that like, does this look good, does this look okay, did I do this right? And while we're all for the messy, and like that's kind of how I've been building things right now, is in the messy, if you could have somebody in your pocket to help you, like, why would you not do it?
Yeah, for sure. So, and I'm glad that you touched on that, and that I'm adding a missing element to, yes, you can go and download templates when you need them, right? Some of them for $99, some of them for $250, whatever. Templates out there range all kinds of things, right? Some people are selling templates for $9, whatever it might be. But there's not an issue with people selling templates. I think there's a place for that for sure. So I don't want to say that. I love that. But I would say that, to your point, for the people that I'm calling into this membership, they need a little bit more hand-holding, because you can download the template, you can watch the training video and hear a few use cases. But when you're trying to implement in your business and in the way that your brain works, you're gonna reach a point where you might feel like, this isn't really working for me, or I'm not really sure how to pivot or change things around. Because a template seller, I was a template seller too, but a template seller cannot answer every single question, right?
Right.
And so I will say that a real life example of a TWS member along this topic, she downloaded the relationship management tracker. So her business is built on referrals, her business is built on relationships, and she downloaded the tracker and she was like, oh my goodness, I actually, let me back up. She didn't even download it. She watched the demo, because I have demos in there and show you and she's like, I need this. I want to download this, and I want to like get it all ready for me, right? I want to like, there's custom fields in there. There's a training video when you download it, but there was something blocking her. So she let it sit for 2 weeks. And then we got on the phone and we were talking about it. And she was like, yeah, I really wanted to download that relationship tracker, but I don't know. I kind of just don't know what to do. And somebody that's listening to this or watching this, you're probably like, well, just download it. But honestly, that's like, people get stuck. And like, I was able to download it with her. I was able to walk her through the step-by-step, like, that I had there, like, oh, first do customize this, second, save these checklists, third, do this. And once she started to see that, and like, go through it herself, of like something in her brain clicked. And I guarantee you that the next time she wants to go download something, she's not going to need me or need me as much, because she's going to kind of know already, this is how I can use this thing, and that kind of stuff. But I was there to support her through that. It didn't take much of my time. We literally did that in a video that actually went out to the entire group. So if you're signing up, you'll be able to see that video of going step by step. But that's the level of support that I really want to keep inside this membership. And we won't talk too much about future, but one of the realistic things that comes up is like, right now I have 11 founding members in there, and I'm enrolling currently now. If this was at 1,000 people, right, I'm not going to be able to answer every single person's question, but get in now, because I'm grandmothering you into that level of service. So I'm like, it's awesome. It's $330 for the year. And I'm here for the DIY people, man. I get it. Like, you either have been burned by somebody that you hired that didn't really work out, whether it was a tech VA or something, or you're just not sure what to do. Yeah. Like, and you're not sure even what templates or stuff like that, like, is possible, or that you like or you don't like. And so instead of downloading $500 to $1,000 worth of templates and like, downloads and all these things, like, just get into the workflow studio, test a few things about, learn what you like and what you don't like, and what systems work and what systems don't work for you and your brain at a low risk and low cost. And then you're ready to hire an operations specialist, and you're able to be more informed about what you actually need in your business. So, do I need a consultant or do I need a tech VA? Like, who do I need here? Because you're gonna have the clarity and the education when you're here to be able to discern what your next step is.
Right. I think that, like, it just goes back to that it's okay with being messy. And I think, like, that's why I'm slightly like geeking out over systems, is because I did the first easy thing that I was working on. And then, because I didn't know what the bigger picture was going to be either. And then I was like, hey, I could do this thing and I could do this thing. So it's okay to like have that permission. Like, you can be messy and you're going to need to be messy. But the point is to get started, because without getting started, like, you're not going to know what you like or what you dislike or what else, like, the possibilities are, without first getting into a tool. Now, I know that you use ClickUp. For people who might be using a different tool, why do you choose ClickUp?
Ooh, good question. So ClickUp is just the king in project management systems, and I'm very tool agnostic. And this is coming from someone who is, I'm not trying to push one tool on somebody, because everybody's brain works different. The visual, like, aspect of a tool is important, how it flows, like the usability of you, and just different things like that. However, when it comes to features, benefits, automations, things like that, ClickUp will always be king. And because I'm in systems and I geek out about that stuff, and I like to use a project management system, I choose ClickUp. It's also great for agencies and large teams, because it has a bunch of automations that really can take the space of you going back and forth with your team, and also take the space of like the handoffs, like from one person to another, et cetera, et cetera. But So that's why I use ClickUp in general, or that's why I promote ClickUp or use tools in ClickUp. But I will say that inside the Workflow Studio, because I'm tool agnostic and I respect and understand that people are in other tools already, I have the CSV files for every single tracker so that you could download the CSVs and upload these trackers into your Monday, Asana, Trello, whatever you're using, and still get the benefit of using those trackers.
That's incredible. Because I was going to ask, if somebody doesn't want to use a tool, a project management tool, like maybe they just want to use Google Sheets or use Excel, could they simply use something like this and keep track that way instead of going to a tool?
100%.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so we've talked about templates, swipes. When you say swipes, what are you really talking about?
Ooh, good. So, if you're looking to hire, so I have job description swipes. I have one job description template. I'm sorry.
So necessary, specifically for the travel industry. So many people either want to hire independent contractors for their business or virtual assistants for their help for like building on their team. And that is crucial to have things like that.
100%. Job description templates, and so those are swipeable. And then I actually have an operations assistant job description done for you that you can swipe. I also have an admin assistant done for you that you can swipe. And because I'm extra, what you will see on my job descriptions, and I have 7 years of HR, employee relations, employment law experience. I have the EEOC blurb that you need. I have an accommodation blurb that you need in each job description that allows you to be compliant and inclusive in your hiring practices. So that is included in the job descriptions that you likely won't see on any of these other swipes or anything that you have. In addition to that, some of the other swipes I have are canned emails. So I have about 30. It's all in one document, so we don't get crazy, but it's a relationship management canned emails. And those emails are if after a coffee chat, what do you say? It's after a networking event. It's like if you have a gap with somebody, like if you haven't talked in a while, like what you can say, what you can do. And you just like copy and paste the copy, insert, adjust it to personalize it to what you want to say. And you can do that even in Google. One of the things I was playing around with is the templates within Google. So you can literally copy these, whatever ones you want to use. There's about 30 little blurbs of like canned emails, copy that, throw it into your Google. Then as long as the template is kind of turned on in Google, your templates are turned on in Google, then you'll have an option to save that as a template so that when you're following up with people inside your Google, then you can save that as or use that template over and over and just adjust it a little bit. I mean, how much time overthinking about what you want to say to somebody is how much time do you spend on that, right? So that's also a swipe. Oh my gosh, there's just like so much. There's like 20 plus resources in right now, and I'm doing another drop of resources, likely about 20 more resources in August, because the founding members have already given me so much great feedback about what they want next. And because this membership, it's only been through one founding member group, and we're enrolling now, and this is kind of the second wave, you are going to get priority. If you want something created for your business, like literally you submit a TWS ticket, which there's about it, when you submit the ticket, there's about 5 or 6 selections you can make. And one of the selections you can make is a resource suggestion. And I take your suggestion and I put it in queue.
That is, I'm like geeking out back here, and I'm like, I need to be a part of this because I'm like,
it's insane.
I like just the capabilities. It's funny, like I've been following this for a while, but I'm like, oh my, there's like so much more stuff in here than what you would have thought. And just like thinking about the HR piece. Oh, this was the question that came up to me because a lot of people think immediately, I need to hire a VA. I need to hire a virtual assistant. But do they? And I ask that because there's the operations assistant or the operations manager. So can you say for the people who, and I say this with love, who really probably need an operations person and not a VA, how they can distinguish between the difference?
Ooh, I would say it depends on the task that you need done. It's that simple. Like what task do you need done in your business in order to like that you want support in? And if that falls under more operations, so like for example, if you are working with automations, let's just say, and you have zaps coming in and you're always getting zap errors and you're always getting pulled away for that kind of stuff. If you want somebody to start connecting, like like if you do a lot of like launches, right? And for the travel industry, like tell me a little bit about like, because I'm trying to like make it specific to this industry, right? So are they launching? Are they like that kind of stuff? Is it more administrative? If it's more administrative for the industry, then it might be an admin assistant. It could also be an executive assistant if you're somebody who wants somebody to manage like your calendar, email communication, that kind of stuff. But yeah, I would say always take it back to what are the tasks that you want to offboard. And then once you start to see like, oh, I have 10 tasks here and 5 tasks here, these 10 tasks are more operations minded, like they need to be somebody in operations needs to be more familiar with automations. They need to be more tech savvy.
Okay.
Right? They need to be organized. They need to be systematic, like thinking systematically. They are likely lovers of checklist, right?
I know a lot of those.
So they're likely lovers of checklists. And an admin, I would say, needs to be a little bit more detail oriented, can really hone in and focus. I would say that's probably a good indicator of a good admin or good, kind of qualifier. Yeah. So I hope that answers the question. It's kind of hard because every business is different and it really depends. I would say that, for most businesses, having any type of assistant is always going to be helpful because even if you start them off small, having an admin assistant or a virtual assistant will be helpful for some of the admin tasks, even if it's like 5 hours or something like that. But like in my business, like I already have an admin assistant, but now like my next hire is the ops person because there's stuff on my back end that I want the ops person to literally put my landing pages together. Okay.
Yeah.
Connect all the tech and like make sure that all that, put it on the website. Hey, can you put this link on the website? Like stuff like that. If you're doing a lot of like maintenance like that, that's the ops people.
Okay. Because I totally see that. Like travel business owners don't necessarily launch, but some of them do a lot of group business. And some of them is groups that come to them, and some of them is groups that they create. And essentially, like that's what a launch project is. Like if you've taken out group space, like with a cruise line or an all-inclusive supplier, and you're trying to fill the space in there, there's a landing page that has to be created. There's all sorts of promo that has to be created, special pages and links and things that have to be created just for that certain group. And I know many people, like that's what their travel business is all about, is that they just host groups throughout the year and fill space on all those different groups that they have.
That sounds like more creative. So to me, that would be like a marketing assistant that's creating the pages, that's creating the creative, right?
The copy and the images.
That would be more of a marketing assistant. And sometimes too, like if you're doing things like that, you want, if it's in a creative space, it's kind of marketing. If they're writing copy, that's a different skill set.
Right.
They can be creative, but you got to write like copywriters are their own thing. You know what I mean? So like I would if you're hiring an assistant because you need to create a lot of like graphics and landing pages and that kind of stuff, that's your marketing assistant. But then when it comes to copywriting, maybe you outsource a copywriter, right? And so, don't put that on the marketing person. Not that they couldn't. Some
Right.
play both roles, right? But it is two different skill sets. So if you need both of those skill sets, then you might want to hire somebody with both of those skill sets, but then you need to make sure you're paying higher, right? They're likely going to be at a higher tier. You might be
Specialist.
paying $50 to $100 a person versus just somebody to do graphics and things like that and create templates and that kind of stuff,
Right. Right.
So yeah, that's why I always recommend, like, write down what you need done and that you don't want to do, assign it to a department, assign it to a role, and then it will become clear on like who you really need to hire. And it'll also become clear on the skills that they need.
Right.
Because if you're like, for example, the admin that I have, it's like she does a lot of data entry, right? So my admin has to be super detailed.
Right.
So she has to follow the 1, 2, 3. She has to follow the SOPs to a T.
Right.
Because it's a lot of data entry. So yeah, anyway, we can talk forever, but
I know, I was like, we could keep going, but
yeah.
I think that we've gotten like the gist of all of the things, kind of like where my journey started and kind of like how it easily fit in with this amazing launch that you have. I know I am an affiliate for the Workflow Studio, so it doesn't cost you anything extra if you go to through my link, so I'll make sure to have that linked up. But can you give us the overview again? This is an annual subscription.
Yeah, so the Workflow Studio is the ultimate operations product membership for DIY solopreneurs who are DIYing their systems. So if you are looking for support in how to build out systems, if you're asking yourself, what systems do I need and how do I do it, or where do I start? If you're asking any of those questions, then I invite you to go to Rita's link, look at the sales page. I invite you to DM me with any questions, but it comes with templates, swipes, mini training. So there's a training that's like how to choose the right tech tool. So I mean, like, oh my goodness. Okay. Like when you're making that decision, like what to think about, right? So anyway, so that's the mini training, that's one of the mini trainings in there. And then yeah, I'm trying to think of what else on the slide.
The ticketing.
TWS ticketing, the implementation parties, which is where we map out a process. One process a month, I map it like for you and with you, and you're able to come to the call and do it with me in real time. And then we have monthly Q&A sessions there. And phase 2 of the membership will include a community aspect. One thing that once I have these second wave of members in there, I'm going to have more people to poll about where we want to host our community. And that way we're there, y'all can get to know each other and ask questions and things like that. And, outside of the Q&As and implementation parties and TWS ticketing service. Okay. So that's even though you're supported.
This is going to be a great, I talk a lot about visibility. And so this membership is not just for travel business owners. So if you work with entrepreneurs in your travel business, this is going to be a great visibility opportunity to connect with like-minded people. So that's another an unsaid benefit almost of joining memberships and groups like this.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you for letting me talk about. I think that it's a steal of a deal. I think, like you said, even just following the journey, like you didn't realize everything that like was really included, and like, and I think that the more we talk about it, and if you have questions about, well, like, do you have this type of thing? I know one of the things I'm creating in August is an onboarding checklist, because one of the members is like, I don't know how to put my onboarding process together. And I'm like, gotcha, girl. Gotcha. I got you, boo. So you're in here early, and there's demos on my page. You can find me at Alicia Lozano on Facebook, or at the Workflow Studio on Instagram. And I have member testimonials or member experience videos to talk about, because if you don't know me from Adam, right, I could just be this like sleazeball of a salesperson.
I was
and
gonna
I
say,
want to make sure, I'm one of my values is transparency, and I honestly want to make sure that everybody has like enough information, because you'll know if it's right for you or not. So I invite you to visit the link and ask questions.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say, if you go to the YouTube channel, you'll see Alicia's interview with Client Experience Systems. And then I was trying to see, I'm like, what episode are you? Episode 54. That's way back when, because we're over the hundreds now.
Oh my
She's on
gosh.
episode 54 of the podcast, Strategizing Business Operations. So legit. I wouldn't, and many of you know me, that I'm like super high on ethics and bringing on people that actually know their stuff. So thank you, Alicia, for coming on, like sharing not only about the workflow studio, but sharing a lot of wisdom, because like I even took away a couple of things that I'm like, oh, I could be doing this a little bit differently. So thank you again for being here, and super excited to dive into all the things, and wish you so much success.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, everybody, for listening in. Go ahead to the show description, check out all the links. I'll put all the previous interviews with Alicia, as well as my affiliate link for her workflow studio. We will talk to you soon. Bye. Thanks for joining me on the podcast today. Remember to check out the show notes for all relevant links and resources from today's show. See you next time.